Hey guys, welcome back to the Home Service Expert. I'm your host, Tommy Mello, and today I have my good buddy Charlie. He came. You visited here about 4 months ago?
About 3 months ago.
3 months ago. So Charlie Felker, he's an expert in entrepreneurship, home service management, leadership. He's based out of St. Louis. His company's called Free to Grow. He's the co-founder from 2019 to present. In the past, he was the co-founder of RFP Testing, and then HBM Holdings Corporate Development Associate before that. It's a company that provides back office support to service-based companies, allowing the owners and operators to focus on their customers and growing their businesses. Free to Grow offers its customers the services of a full-time office manager at half of what it would cost to hire someone full-time, and provides team support with its cross-trained staff. Charlie, exciting to have you here, brother.
Tommy, I love being on, and I know we are now kind of official partners, and I can't tell you how excited I am. My business partner and our team is to be affiliated with you and Home Service Expert, and really glad to be on, man. And it was a thrill to be out and see you in person several months ago. So
yeah, man, it's really cool. I like what you're doing with this because, you know, we were talking before this started about just A1's growth, and I got to tell you that there's a lot of things that get in the way of a business when you're a smaller business. You just don't have the manpower. Everybody says, "How do I find an assistant? How do I find someone good?" I call it an integrator. And how do they find their first integrator? And you guys are helping solve that problem. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Free to Grow, about what you've been doing the past couple of years, and just what your goals are? Moving forward?
I'd love to. And you're right. We before we went live, we were talking about hiring, and I'm certainly an entrepreneur. In 2015, I kind of went and became an entrepreneur. I was in the military before that, and certainly took a lot of the lessons I learned in the Army and have kind of transitioned them into entrepreneurship. And so, long story short, I started a neat business in 2015. More focused on specialty construction. We were supporting kind of seniors age in place through a combination of equipment and construction, and grew that business. Ended up acquiring a similar type business in Western New York and cobbled those businesses together and collectively sold them right before I started Free to Grow. So this is late 2019. And so naturally, when you go through the selling process and you're so focused on value and what's your business worth to somebody else, you spend a lot of reflection on the past 5 years and things that you could have done better. And I got to tell you, Tommy, one of the things that I felt we didn't do well, and it probably wasn't a knock on us, it's just kind of an old school way of thinking, is feeling like I had to have somebody in a chair as an office manager or CSR. And so, that kind of thought was really a driver for when my business partner, Nathan, and I got Free to Grow off the ground, was saying, you know what, most home service companies probably don't need a full-time 8-hour-a-day individual, sitting behind a computer screen, answering phones, managing CSRs, scheduling, dispatching, et cetera. So that's exactly what Free to Grow does. So with our home service partners, we take on that virtual, if you want to call it that, office management piece. With my previous company, it was frustrating. I'd often go in the office and it wasn't a knock on my employees, but it just wasn't a full-time gig. I've come to realize that really good entrepreneurs, owner-operators deploy their capital really well. And man, I got to tell you, if I would have had something like Free to Grow, I could have taken that, 25, 30K of annual savings and, parlayed that, with better advertising, reinvestment, and, better employees, or just putting it in my own pocket, or, acquiring other businesses. There's a lot of ways that I could have spent that money accrued over 5 years better than what we did. So, I'm really excited about Free to Grow. I've got a great business partner. We've got a great team in St. Louis, and are growing really quickly. So,
there's been times in the past we use a secondary call center. If we don't get to it, it's a VoIP service that just basically it does a round robin and eventually ends up to them because we want to get our stuff answered. And one day we had the idea of just going, hey, why not let this call center handle all of our calls? And it was the biggest mistake ever because they didn't know the business well enough. They're a good kind of fallback, but what size is the perfect size business to get involved in? How far do you guys go? I mean, do you learn new CRMs? Break it down to me.
We do. And I know for you personally, finding the right CRM is important for small businesses. So we, with all of our clients, will use different CRMs. We'll typically use the CRMs they have in place, although we've gotten familiar with the whole spectrum of the CRMs that are out there, and certainly recommend more than others.
I'd love to hear more. Yeah, we'll circle back to that, but go ahead.
Absolutely. So we'll completely integrate with their CRM. We'll take on answering their phones. We'll develop a script that works for them and their business. Lead, customer follow-up, email follow-up. And again, I come at this from a unique angle that I was in that entrepreneur's chair. And I know when you spend money on ad campaigns and you're staring at that lead when it comes in, you want it followed up quickly. So I get that sense of urgency. And so, that full spectrum from answering the phone, we're way more than just a call center. So answering the phone, we get to know our clients. And so we certainly don't have all the answers, but 9 times out of 10, when a customer calls, we're going to be able to have an answer for that customer on the spot and not put the customer on hold. And you know how that goes, that those leads just kind of go away. So call intake, processing the lead in CRM, scheduling the client, kind of getting an idea of pricing, screening clients. That whole spectrum of services is just.
You do a one. You got me thinking here about A1. So a one-off thing would be kind of setting up, like asking the customer what their overall experience was and asking them to go leave a review because we award the technicians that get the reviews. Another thing that's follow-up, I've got a huge list in Service Titan of just stuff that, quite honestly, it's embarrassing, but we don't get to it enough. There's also dialing for dollars, getting back to that yearly membership, dialing out and saying, hey, it's been a year since we've been out there. Can you guys do anything and everything offshoot of what maybe would be just a conventional call booking?
Yeah, we do. And again, we have a base, our we call them growth partners, get to know our clients. And our growth partners are going to manage not a huge variety of clients, but a small select group with the intent of getting to know that business. And so if we're doing outbound calls, our clients can be rest assured that the person that's calling knows their business. We're not just sliding a script in front of them saying, hey, call these 10 numbers. There can be some, back and forth with our growth partners in the outbound call. So we can book something, we can give them rough pricing, scheduling, leave a Google review. And, some of our best success stories is when we look at, local national clients where we say, you know what, when you started, revenue's gone up like this, call answering rates up like this, your Google reviews went from 40 to 100. I was looking before I joined of one of our best success stories with tree care client. And it's kind of all the above. Their revenue's up over 80%. Profitability is way up. Google, their reputation management went from, X to 2X. All those types of things is how we say, man, mission accomplished. And, you wouldn't even know it wasn't free to grow when you call these clients.
I love that.
I love that.
You guys are inserting yourselves a lot more than a conventional answering service.
Yeah. Answering services, they can be great, and it's certainly not one size fits all, but I think they kick the can down the road for a lot of entrepreneurs. When I was just starting my company back in 2015, 2016, we had an answering service, and it was frustrating because you get home at 5 o'clock and you have 8 to-dos with, okay, this person called and they want this. And you're like, well, it really doesn't help me focus on growing the business. I know I've got to go call those 8 people.
So can you in the explanation here, it's and you talked a lot about it, a part-time versus full-time. What happens if someone they're just like, dude, Charlie is his company's better than me at hiring and getting this office staff. Is there anything that you'd say, shoot, that's not, I can't take on a 200 technician company because that's going to take, I mean, how do you look at stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know what that revenue threshold is. There's certainly companies, when when I saw your business, for example, or I go and done tours of large HVAC or plumbing businesses, there's certainly companies that need 8 to 10 CSRs or whatever. So we would not be a fit for that. Okay. But everything less than that, I would say we would be. And even down to the, small power washers or individual painting companies, it's highly cost effective and it's not a one size fits all pricing. We've gone down where it can be $1,000 a month for clients. Okay. And I would bet that most companies can afford that. Especially when you consider the alternative of putting somebody on payroll and you got to manage them and they want benefits. There's absent PTO and there's probably a 10% absenteeism rate. There's no sick days with us.
Cigarette breaks. What I just learned about is I'm a big fan of use your PTO, use it or lose it, but you can't do that in the state of Arizona. So it's like, the reason why I say use it or lose it is because I want them to take a vacation. I want them to spend family time. I want that refresher. And that's so stupid that they don't allow us to do it. I mean, these regulations are ridiculous. I want to jump into CRMs because I've worked with a lot of CRMs. ServiceTitan is our fifth one, and I don't think ServiceTitan is a great fit for everybody. I hate to say that because I'm a big advocate of theirs. People actually thought I worked there at one point. And this guy I was talking to about buying out, he goes, well, why would I ever get on that? You'd have access to my data. I'm like, I don't own ServiceTitan. I wish. It's a $12 billion company. I've worked with the Christmas light business. They use a house called Pro, and I've used different things. I've used Aptora. I've used Pro business tools. I've used a lot, different things for different things. I personally use Salesforce. I've used, right now we're looking at a lot of other things too. On top of, we're using HubSpot right now. We're using this other one called, what is it called? High Level, Go High Level, which is amazing, by the way. But I think that a lot of people, they choose their CRM just because it's the first one they found and the people answered. I don't think they really know how a sophisticated company should use a very advanced CRM. I mean, for example, we have 4,400 call tracking numbers in the ServiceTitan. So we really are able to analyze the advertising, and I've been able to renegotiate 1,000 times over. But when it comes to you, how do you decide? It sounds like to me, sometimes you get the clients to switch because they're probably using primitive software. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great question, complicated one. And certainly I recommend when I have conversations with future clients to do their diligence when selecting a CRM. And, there are CRMs, the jobbers, when I sold my company, I was working with a CRM called Buildertrend. And this is another frustration that I had. Another reason why my partner and I started Free to Grow was, we were using probably like 20% of Buildertrend's capabilities and spending, it was on the more expensive side, but long story short, we were utilizing, 20% of a very complicated CRM system and probably could have used something for the inputs that we needed much more simple, like a LA CRM or even a jobber. So, Jobber, for example, is one where one of our first clients that liked it and had it integrated was one that we found was easy to use, cost effective, could cover a variety of industries, from tree care, lawn care, general contractors, et cetera. So Jobber is certainly one that we really like.
Have you gone to Jobber?
Say again?
Have you gone and talked to the CEO and said, listen, we've already got a lot of success with your clients? That would be, I got to tell you, the call center I work with, and I work with a lot of different clients, but they're pros at ServiceTitan. So ServiceTitan feeds them leads. So, you get in good with Jobber, get some, references from, we're going to be working with you at a couple different capacities, but that could be
Oh, I certainly agree. And I think at the end of the day, though, the entrepreneurs got to do your diligence. There's so many out there on these CRMs and so many CRMs that target specific industries. So it's not hard to do a quick Google search and find the top 3 to 5. I will say this, at the end of the day, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out with CRMs. I mean, and we were more on the garbage out side with my former business, using 20% of it and just a total waste. But, and again, with Free to Grow, having somebody that's going to be, on the intake side, taking that customer data and immediately transferring it over to your CRM system. So the entrepreneur at the end of the day knows exactly what activities were logged. That's valuable.
It is.
Versus, yeah.
I know our conversion rate. I know what our average ticket is today. I know what, our booking rate is. I know where we're at today, what we're trending towards. It's amazing. I got a little command station here. Something really interesting is to do what you guys are doing, you got to be good at hiring. And right now it's a weird time. I pride myself and this company and the people that work here on, we're just really, really good at finding amazing people. And my next class is going to be about 25 people, technicians. And I've got a ratio for every certain amount of techs, I need a dispatcher. For every certain amount of techs, I need a CSR. And we've been really, really figuring out ways to get lots and lots and lots of people and build just a way to train them and hold them accountable and build their pay structures. But I'd love to hear your perspective, because everybody you talk to, and I'm sure you're hearing it every day, is how do I get more great people? I need more guys. A lot of times they go, I don't need more leads. I already got enough leads. I just need more people. Mm-hmm. What is your?
Well, let me say. So when I went and toured your shop, it was within 30 seconds you can tell there was great culture. Okay, people were hopping around. Nobody's slow walking. Everybody kind of had a mission, and you can tell people were incentivized correctly. Okay, and I think we're aligned with how you do that. And culture, you can't fake it. So that was obvious, the second I walked in, that was there for you guys. And so that certainly helps when you hire people. And I think it's the same with our culture. We want people, and we try to, we tell future employees this, that look, you're going to be the quarterback. You're going to be the back office driver for these, hustling small business owners throughout the country. And for the right people, that's exciting. And for the, if they can't get excited about that, then there's probably not a place for people at Free to Grow. So that's really been, our big driver, our litmus test is if this individual through, face-to-face interactions and our interview process, if we can't get a sense that they're not going to want to, take onus for being a driver, a true growth partner for our clients, it's not going to be a fit. So there's got to be that natural drive to want to help our partners grow. And if not, that's okay. But
where
really who we're looking for.
Where are you finding them? Here's the deal. I spent a long time, and I actually got to go talk to Bree about this, but if you look at my Indeed or Glassdoor, it's amazing. The way everything's filled out. Every video that I can put a video, every single link about us. We've got 155 reviews, a 4.5 star. I also do a lot of Craigslist postings. I also just started becoming absolutely freaking amazing with the help of some buddies on Facebook, Instagram, and we're getting ready to do TikTok. And I'm going to make him available for everybody down the line. But, a couple hundred applications a day. And we've got a whole system. And I'm curious to hear where you're finding people and just any tips you have, because I think it's on everybody's mind right now.
So this is a compliment for, I think, our culture and something that my partner and I have tried to build. All of our hires have been kind of organic. Okay. Have been people that we brought on, and they'll go and talk to their friends and say, you know what, I'm working for a fast growing business that really care about their clients, and can I get a piece of that? All the hires that we've made that haven't worked out, I hate to say it, have been straight from that kind of Indeed network. And not to say that there aren't great people out there, there certainly are, but when we get a warm organic referral from existing employees, even if we don't have an immediate fit for that, we will make that work. Just with our experience. Look, we can have them train for more time than we typically do, et cetera. But we'll figure out a way to retain those people. From our experience, those have been the best.
We've got a really good referral program. We give $1,500 to the people that get referrals. One guy made $7,500 in a quarter, and that's something that I think most people need to take advantage of. Compensate their people for that, but always build the culture of, hey, we're looking for somebody. We're looking for somebody. Every time we have pizza here, I'm like, go live on your Facebook, and you get $1,500. And they're gonna somebody. Here's the key: Indeed, Monster, ZipRecruiter, all these places. People go there when they're unemployed, looking for a job, or maybe they're looking to make a change. But Facebook, Instagram, all social media, they're on there already. And they might go from a job to a career. They might say the grass is greener, and they might come over. So I just think you could get a lot more people in places. The average TikTok user, which is crazy to me, is on there 58 minutes a day. It's pretty interesting stuff. You tell me a little bit about your military background and how that's helping your business grow.
So I'm a West Point graduate. Class of 2006. We have our 15th year reunion coming up. Was commissioned as an infantry lieutenant with the 82nd Airborne. Did a couple years with them, and then I tried out and was accepted to the 3rd Ranger Battalion at Fort Benning. And got out in 2011 and moved back to St. Louis. Went to business school and then became an entrepreneur. But the biggest takeaways. I think getting it done, that kind of attitude, especially with some of the more aggressive units like the 82nd and 3rd Ranger Battalion. And I think you'll find this with kind of some athletes, but in the military, there was just, especially when I was serving, typically you're deployed downrange and you had kind of a series of left and right ranges that you had to get done. You had your mission set, and then it was like, okay, Lieutenant, go get it done. Call me in a year and get, hopefully you had it done. So I think that kind of attitude stayed with me. Certainly some tough lessons along the way. I had a great commander who hated 3-foot wall issues. He called it a 3-foot wall. And that's always stuck with me, where it's, you present an issue and it's, well, that's a 3-foot wall. It's something you should probably figure out and climb over. And I love that expression. And I think a lot of people hit a 3-foot wall and don't get over it. As owner operators and entrepreneurs, you see these issues every day, and you've got to turn that little wall into an opportunity. Good weeks, bad weeks, et cetera. It's just, you got to get over it.
I love that mentality, and I've got a mentality myself, and I don't know if all of my colleagues here share the same the same attitude towards it, but we've been having a lot of supply chain issues. And I said, good. I hope they get worse. And they looked at me like, what the hell's wrong with you? Do you realize there's fires every day? And I go, if we're struggling, other people are going out of business. And I said, this is just an opportunity. If you look at every that you would put 3-foot wall, I said, the more barriers to entry, the better, because we're going right through them. We're going right Absolutely. Through those barriers. And, Ray Kroc, I love this expression, and I'm not an asshole for saying this because he said it. Ray Kroc said, when your enemies are drowning, stick a hose in their mouth.
Yeah.
I don't care what my competitors are doing. I don't focus on them. But it's an interesting concept, and I agree with you. We're really actively going after military people, believe it or not, because they're regimented. Background checks are good. They're not drug users. They got most of the time a good driving record, and they understand the chain of command. And there's just like in anything else, there's good and bad. Some of them may not be as great as others, and there's tax incentives. There's all kinds of free money out there. We're working with a military recruiter. When these guys come back, if they were honorably discharged, the military will give you $10,000 to get them in a job. There's all kinds of programs out there. I'm a big believer in that stuff. I don't know. Do you have anybody that works for you that's from
at my previous company, we had a lot of veterans, and I'll there was good and bad. and that's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I think there's a lot of veterans that will fill roles with companies and just be exemplary employees for all the reasons that you stated: the discipline, the work ethic, the selflessness, the overcoming the 3-foot walls, and just kind of getting it done attitude. It is there, certainly.
It's interesting. One thing that I just took from what you said, and it's everything that I go after, is athletes. I was doing my orientation. My orientation lasts 3 hours with no potty breaks. And the guys go potty. But I go 3 hours, and I'm just up there, and I'm making eye contact, and I'm up in these guys' grill. And I go, the reason I love athletes, or somebody that had to play the symphony, or somebody that just whatever it is that you had to do, because we practiced 5 days a week for one day to compete. And I'm a big fan of coaching, practicing, ride-alongs. Never gets old to me. And I just said, I want more. I want more and more and more. And I want to record it all. I want you to watch yourself. And I want you to be like this when the time comes, when you're actually playing the game. And this has got to win. One of my core values is the second one here is aspire to be number one. And that's the kind of mentality of an athlete. We want to win. I don't play games I do have fun, but I play to win in everything I do. And I think the true competition comes from athletes.
I agree. And I think with some, a lot of athletes, you find kind of a complete person. They've put themselves out there. There's been failure, but they just seem to get it done.
Rise up.
Persist. Yeah.
So there's got to be people out there. I'm sure you deal with objections that you encounter from entrepreneurs when it comes to outsourcing. What are some of the common objections, and what is your answer to those?
The most frequent thing is we see entrepreneurs who want to do it all, especially with the smaller, more unsophisticated companies. They started it, it's their baby. They have to answer every phone. They've got to talk to every customer, submit every quote, follow up with every job, schedule everything, blah, blah, blah. And I think those are the same entrepreneurs that I think if I called him or her a year from now, they'd probably be in the same spot, to be candid. And we have a lot of those conversations. So it's getting the entrepreneur, the owner operator, to take a step back and say, well, if you want to be the best in your particular, if you want to be the best painter in Toledo or general contractor or roofer, whatever it is, you've got to remove yourself from the business and focus on what it is that you can add the most value to that business. It may be sales, it may be, quoting jobs, whatever it is. They just can't do it all. And it may be sustainable. Maybe you have to do it for the first period of time. I get it. We've kind of all been in those shoes, but you've got to graduate from that. And I think the really good entrepreneurs just delegate, they outsource stuff like we do for Free to Grow. And then they have a mission and they're just so focused on what it is that's mission critical. And they just go nuts at that.
And prioritizing.
They prioritize. Yeah.
And really I tell entrepreneurs with smaller businesses, I say, look, I want you to buy a scheduler, an old fashioned one with every hour. And I want you to write down what your 5 things, the big things you need to get done today. Big things, not just the small things. I like little wins, but I want you to focus on every time your time gets taken from you and write those down. And then create a role for every time the biggest time sucks in your day. We need to get that covered. We need to have a role. Email is a huge time suck. I don't even look. She prints everything out. And I know I waste some paper, but I'll get a stack. Here's a stack from earlier, right? Yeah. All these. And this means I went through it and read it. This means Breed need to do a Zoom. Yes, willing to look at the investment. All these things get handled very easily. And I've always got to refine that and redo it. But I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, they find themselves, I have a rule of thumb. I figured out what I made per hour last year. And I pretty much, unless I absolutely thoroughly enjoy whatever, cleaning the toilet or mowing the lawn or whatever it is, unless I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's like spiritual or whatever, meditation for me, I'm not going to do those tasks. Only one I would like to do that I can't do is my lawyers are freaking ridiculously expensive. But, I think a lot of times they work in their business instead of on their business, the old Michael Gerber type stuff.
And, you mentioned dollars per hour, and that we've brought that discussion up. So we'll talk to entrepreneurs and say, you know what, for you to work with Free to Grow is going to cost you, let's say, just $10 an hour. Is that really what you think you're worth is $10 an hour? I hope not.
They don't know, but
so that can get them thinking about.
It's a lot of it giving up control, and they go, well, they didn't. I would have booked that call, and there's an opportunity cost to them doing everything, and I don't think they have understood that. I'm more involved with high level decisions now, and I just got off a meeting, and I got this thing online. It's a meeting app, and you put in the average amount per hour. I put in $45. We've got executives in there. There's only like 10 of us. And if you take $45, just say it was $60 an hour for easy 60 minutes in an hour. That's $1 an hour from 10 people. That's $10 an hour. That meeting for an hour was $600. And you add it all up. And I'm a big fan of outsourcing because you don't have to pay. You don't have to worry about payroll issues. There's so many things. And as long as you've got checks and balances, and I don't know, is there like a KPI dashboard or anything that you guys kind of like?
Yeah, we do.
Probably mostly in the CRMs, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the CRMs will have them. We also can pull call data, et cetera, and we have high standards for that stuff. And that's a systems question too. Is how do we leverage technology to implement this? The best systems for these entrepreneurs. So they know from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., there's going to be a set of systems that we follow every day in and day out. No vacation days.
Have you ever heard of call cap?
I have not heard of call cap, no.
I want to introduce you to my friend. Her name is Susie, and they've got a thing called call assurance. And they'll actually listen to every single call for a set fee, and they'll tell you if it was booked or not. They'll actually find out questions, tonality, everything like that. And you can get call tracking numbers from them. And it's a great way to add on to certain CRMs that don't have that stuff built into it. And, their teams are in the Philippines and different countries like that. But all they're doing is listening to the call and saying, you get all this reporting done. I'm looking at buying a business here in the next 2 months, and I've got an LOI. And the owner said, what is your plan? What are you going to do? How much are you going to change things? I go, I'm going to rebuild your website. I'm going to work a lot on your marketing, put call tracking into everything, and find out if we're wasting some money in marketing because the percentage is a little higher than I like. And I said, number 2 is we're going to start tracking on an individual level almost everything. And I don't know what I'm going to do till 90 days into it, but I'm probably going to put you on a round robin that the best call booker in your company, and I'm going to add some of mine, gets the opportunity to book the call first if they're available. Because we do a pay for performance on the CSR level. And the guys that have the best ticket average and conversion rates and 5-star customer service are going to be running probably 4 or 5 jobs while the other guys are going to be running 2 to 3. Just simple little things, but I'm not going in and changing a bunch. I'm going to take your 2 most middle of the pack, but eager to learn. And I want to bring them through our training program. And I want your veterans to see what happens when they get trained properly for 2 months. And I said, I don't want to come in, and I'd rather them not even know almost that we're the owner. They're going to switch CRMs, but consider us partners. I'm not, and that's the mentality I have. A lot of great owners out there that are still doing the work, still doing the day to day. And the question I'd ask any of these entrepreneurs, if I'm doing a big speech, I'd say, listen, I'm going to pay for us to go to Hawaii. I'm covering everything. I'm taking your wife, your kids, the dog. We're taking it all. I'm going to pay for all the booze, the food. I'm going to pay for the volcano tours, to swim with the dolphins. The only request I have is we're doing this tonight. We're bringing everybody tonight, and you cannot do any work. You're allowed to look at your CRM, but you're not delegating, hiring. You're not doing anything. How does your business look when we get back a month from now? And very, 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 very few people can say they're not walking into a firestorm, And
and that's that's a huge value for what Free to Grow does. I mean, that's that's one of our big litmus tests is if an owner can go to Florida or Hawaii for a week and check their CRM, before they have evening cocktails, and the business is running and sales estimates are getting booked and, Google reviews are getting solicited, et cetera. That's, that's our core mission. And I will say this, talking about buying and selling businesses, having bought a business and sold a business, there's a lot of owner operators out there that decrease their value when they're doing all the above. Okay. Because if you're a sophisticated buyer and you're like, well, I could buy your business, but now I don't want to take all the phone calls. I got to do all this stuff, versus I've got a company like Free to Grow in place and all those systems are there. And all I need to do is go out and find more strategic partners or whatever it is that I'm good at. That hinders a lot of businesses.
I gotta, here's what you got to do. How much do you do, and how many people do I need to hire that? So I look at these businesses all the time, and I'm like, you are the business. Your business is only worth your phone number. Your phone number. Right. I'll give you a percentage of every lead we get. That's how I want to buy your company, because it's not a business. It doesn't. Everything evolves around you, and that's not a business. So what I try to do each and every year is pull myself out more and more and more. I'm building a business that will be sellable. There's a great book called Built to Sell. And that should be your goal. I mean, a lot of people think that real estate is the most, I was listening to Grant Cardone the other day, and he said, this is an interesting concept. I just want to share it while we're on this topic, is he said, homes were not meant to be the American dream. He goes, now in the 50s, some banks were out there going, man, for every dollar we loan out, for every dollar we get to come in and all the loans we do, we get to loan out 9. Every dollar we get to come in, we get to loan out. We need to create an American dream. We need to create mortgage-backed homes. And it's crazy because the land, that they say the house is probably your best asset, but really, in my opinion, your best asset is hopefully your business. Because my business is probably worth right now about 14 times EBITDA. We're going to be right around 10 million this year. So $140 million. I mean, I don't have a house worth even close to that. So, but also we've got a plan, and at the size, if you ever look up Subway, they had their first store, I think, for 20 some odd years. And then it just hockey stick, man. It goes like this, and then it just goes like this. KFC opens a new store every 8 hours. I just talked to my manager. I said, we're going to go visit one of these companies, whether it's QT in Tulsa, Quick Trip. Wherever we go, I want to go to a fast-growing company outside of home service, and I want to find out the roles that they've created for this type of growth and see what happens with it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so helpful. I take my trip to come see you, and it's so helpful to come see other businesses in different markets that are doing things, exceptionally well. My partner and I make a point of doing that frequently. And I think, another takeaway, and I know you talk a lot about this, is building a support network of peer leaders or thought leaders, or, just a network of people that are, smart and capable, that you can learn from. I think a lot of entrepreneurs isolate themselves and think they'll figure it out, or, there's chances are there's somebody that's been through the problem you've experienced, and, you can leverage their expertise. Too many entrepreneurs go it alone, and it's a big mistake. I look at all the books behind you, and the your appetite for reading and listening to people and active listening, and you've done a great job of that. And it's something we try to do as well.
I read so many self-help books. I just ordered this book the other day. It's not self-help; it's The Lost Treasures in American History. I'm obsessed with. I used to, like, when a kid, my dad bought something from Sam's Club. It was a treasure guide, and it was talking about all these places that there's supposedly treasures, and it's fascinating to me. But yeah, reading, I always tell people, add up. I told this new orientation class, I said, take your 5 closest friends. If they'll tell you, take their income, add it all up, divided by 5, you're usually within 20%, unless you break away and you start reading. Because if you read Steve Jobs every day, there's a good chance you're going to gain knowledge, and that will eventually gain wealth. And, wealth is an interesting word because it means making money when you're not working. And, I used to be a one-man army, man. I was flipping Bowflexes. I'd buy the Bowflexes on Craigslist and sell them in Arizona Republic. and I flipped over 200. Then I started doing total gyms. I was doing vehicles, and I could make a lot of money. But one day I went on a vacation, and I didn't make any money. I just spent money. And I said, this is not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. And I love what you're doing with outsourcing. I'm curious to know, with all the experience in building and selling home service-based businesses, what do you got any like stories of entrepreneurs just being able to scale because of your service?
Yeah, I'll take, I mentioned the tree care business that is in our backyard that's just grown, close to 90%. We've seen the reputation management double. And the big success or part of that is the money they've saved. So my last year when I ran my old company, this is 2018, 2019, right before I sold it. That year I went through 4 office managers. Okay. And so when I went back and looked at how much time and money I spent to hire these 4 people and to have them not work out and then end up selling my business that same year, I'm like, man, what could I have pocketed, or how could I put that money to better use? So when we go out and solicit kind of case studies and financial information from our clients, high level, to say, great, this is working, it's just great to see them go turn that capital or leverage that capital at cost savings into more online leads or better salespeople, et cetera. And that's really our big pitch is, you're gonna save, a lot on the office admin. There's, we're going to have a team in place that's going to know your business. We're going to answer your phone. We're going to dispatch. We're going to help you sell. We're going to book. We're going to solicit reviews. We're going to help you with outbound calls, with customer lists, all that stuff. You started this, tree care, lawn care, contracting business, plumbing, whatever it is, to do that, not to do what we do. Okay. So yeah, we've got a lot of success stories, but most of them revolve around that cost savings and taking all that back office stuff off their plate so they can go, be an entrepreneur that's growth minded. I think there's clients that we will shy away from that aren't necessarily growth minded. Okay. We have a hard time selling people on our services that just are stagnant. Okay. And I'm not sure we want to work with people like that, to be candid.
No, it's a time suck, and it really drains you. It's just, you're out, they say it's the 80-20 rule too. It's you waste your time with the wrong people. People used to ask me what my avatar was. And I said, anybody with a garage door. But now I'm like, I don't know if my avatar lives in Valpak as much as it used to. I don't know if they're coupon shoppers. I like the people that just go, I want it done right. I want it done today. My dad always taught me you could have 3 things. You could have it done fast on their timeline. You could have it done cheap, and you could get it done right. Pick 2 out of the 3, and you pick
right. You can't get all 3. Yeah,
you can't get all 3. And it's interesting because I decided when I got into the business, I wasn't going to be the cheapest. I wanted to be 24/7, not even on Christmas, and I want to do it so their timeline. And we've got trademarks. We've got special parts. We've got the nicest trucks. We've got the best tools. Each guy today had to make a decision of a new nail gun that everybody needs to get. It's $400. And I'm like, do we need it? And they said 30% of our warranty calls are because of trim.
Yeah. And
I said, so what's the opportunity cost of not getting this? And it was, it's going to add a lot of money to the bottom line of what we got to spend, but the ROI is amazing. So
callbacks go down,
look at those kind of things, look at those and make educated decisions. It's interesting. I can think of a million ways I've already wrote down of ways to use your service. If you're doing a home show and you got a great promotion, a lot of times just give a great giveaway, and then you might get 100 applicants that go through there, like for the prize, the sweepstakes or whatever you're doing, and just have possibly someone like yourself, your company, calling those people, because most of the time we do all these things and we have all the best intentions, but we just don't have the manpower to do it, to follow up.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a lot of our clients have seasonal, leaf or fall cleanups or Christmas lighting, for example. And so they want to get to those lists, coming up here in September to start scheduling those. And we've certainly done that in the past.
I love it. I'm literally I'm looking forward to going and talking to Angela and talking to you a little bit after this, because I've got just, I don't always want to hire somebody to do these things. I'd rather it just be get somebody that's an expert. We had a consultant in and well, I was talking to my group the other day and they go, we think we're just growing so fast. Maybe we need to slow down because we got to get this stuff right. And one of the guys that works here now, he said, Tommy, don't ever let anybody slow you down unless you're not giving them the resources they need. Because if I gave you unlimited employees and unlimited consulting and unlimited access to software, could you solve that problem? And if the answer is yes, and I'm not saying no to your requests, then there's issues. Like, tell me what you need to make this happen. So we just worked on our 6 month, like I told you, 6 month. What does our company look like in 6 months? What does the org chart look like? And it's massive. And I said, okay, the next exercise, standard operating procedures, checklists, what the ad looks like, what their day looks like from 9 to 5, how we're going to compensate them. Let's come up with all these things. Then I want to make videos of each and every role. And I want to talk about the culture, the freedom, it's a career versus job. And I want them to all kind of resemble one another, because when I looked, everyone had a different org chart. And I was like, this is amazing, guys. But see, I didn't give the great instructions on what we needed to do. But if you really start thinking about the growth of your business and you're not outsourcing anything right now, you're crazy. I would tell anybody listening right now to start working on a list of things that they just don't get to. Or it might be just the CSR dispatch opportunity. When it comes to dispatching, you have no idea when you get density in the market how much money you can save by great dispatching. What do you think about dispatching? Because you guys do that. I think it's more of an art than a science, and there's no wrong answer. That me and you might do it differently, but we have our reasons for doing it.
I think our clients, we're probably split in half between, we're virtual, so we're not going to know the local market nearly as much as people, the driver or the general manager or technician will. Okay.
Right.
But that won't stop us with certain technology that we can use that certain CRMs have, where we can do routing or whatever. So a lot of that depends on what the owner is comfortable with. I certainly think certain industries are easier than others for routing or dispatching. It's more advantageous for a business like ours, where, like, take tree care, we know they're going to be on a job for 1 or 2 days. That's much easier for us to plan for versus a quick turn. Let's say it's like a dumpster rental or a porta potty business. Those can be tougher because they're just quicker turns, and you've got to have kind of local tribal knowledge on those. So it's not a one size fits all for dispatching or routing.
What's your partner's name, Charlie?
Nathan Keller. He's the best. Nathan and I grew up together. Yep, Nathan. We're super pleased with what we've built and where we're going. And we want to be the national leader. We want to dominate this kind of emerging opportunity here. So,
and it's interesting because a lot of people lately have been asking me, what was the biggest catalyst in the business? And there's been several. My mom and dad come in 2010 because I could trust them. My stepdad. 2014, Adam was my integrator, and I found a really good integrator that I trusted, that cared as much as I do. And tell me a little bit about you and Nathan. Because see, I'm the visionary. I'm like, everybody heard of Walt Disney, but his brother Roy is the one that knew what was in the bank account. He knew how to be the boots on the ground and get stuff done. Where Walt was up here living the dream of what it looked like, Disneyland and Disney World, and how it all came together. And you need both a visionary and integrator. There's a book called Rocket Fuel that talks all about this. But how does your Nathan's kind of the yin and yang work?
Yin and yang. Yeah, I think Nathan and I have been from the beginning extremely honest with each other. And I think that's, if you're going to have a partnership, you just got to keep communication flowing at all times. So, when we first started out, we were both kind of doing the same thing. Okay. And I think we've split, where I'm more focused on kind of the business development, partner outreach, and Nathan on the integration side, more of like a COO or operator. Okay. But you got to communicate. And we certainly have some of the strengths that are similar. And we certainly know what our strengths and weaknesses are. Our best attribute as partners is communicating. We're with each other all the time. We work out together. We get breakfast together every week. There's no sacred cows. Okay, there's nothing that can't be discussed. I think when you start to conceal stuff or communication gets downgraded, that's where you have issues with partnerships, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think trust. There's a good book called Fierce Conversations. I think I got a book over here too that I don't know if I brought it home. Yeah, it's funny. I just bought this one too. 120 typical conversations they have with employees.
Yeah,
I just
I'll get that.
This, employees who's unable to work well with others. Best approach, and it goes what to say, how to approach them, final tips. Pretty cool little book. But my HR gal Jen would be proud that I'm buying books like that. If anybody's got any questions for Charlie, just feel free to ask. We've talked about a lot of stuff here. If someone wants to reach out, first of all, when you're onboarding, what are some things they need to be thinking about?
Yeah, we want to know what their plans are. You talked about your org chart. I mean, we're going to want to know what their org chart is, how they operate, what makes them successful, or what they think they need to be successful at. Certainly we're going to
selling proposition.
Yeah, we're going to know. We're going to figure out the technology. We do that every day, all day. So we're going to figure out the call systems. We're going to figure out their CRM. We're going to figure out their dispatching, whatever that is. That's become second nature to us. It's kind of the intangibles. I mean, before we onboard a client, we kind of put together I don't want to call it like their business model, but it's basically a constantly evolving document of call scripting, pricing, tonality is a big one. How would you want us to talk to your clients? It's a very kind of unique approach to these clients, and we do it for every client. So the onboarding isn't just like a 24-hour deal. It typically takes us 2 to 3 weeks to onboard a client. We're in this is a long game for us with our clients. It's just not a 3-month gig. We're trying to be an extension of their business for, years. So every client's different. Onboarding is very important.
So a question I have is, when you've got the employees under your business, do you give ones kind of dedicated to certain businesses, or you just kind of say, anybody could handle this business? Which would be tough to do.
It's tough to do. I mean, and the way we're situated now, we'll probably have between 1 to 3 people on a given account.
That training big thing. Okay.
But we've got, we recently promoted one of our early hires, Linda, who's now kind of overseeing all client relationships. So every client's going to have a point person that's going to know their business. And for the vast majority of time when a client calls, that person's going to be answering their phone or in the CRM or managing their calendar, whatever it is. But, there's going to be times where that person's on their lunch break or whatever, or they're on with another client, and we've got to have a secondary be able to pick up slack. So the team approach has been great. So long story short, they're going to have a client lead, but then there's going to be a team behind that person that can support.
What about outbound versus inbound? Some people specialize in just inbound. Do you feel like you guys could tackle both?
Oh, we do tackle both. We'll do designated campaigns on the outbound side, especially if you have, let's say you did a big marketing push. You're a lawn care or whatever your business is, and you hung a bunch of flyers, door hangers, whatever it was. Or you're marketing a bunch of commercial clients that you want to get. I mean, we can certainly reach out and make sure that those were received, who the decision makers are, whatever that client wants us to do. I don't think that's our bread and butter. I think our bread and butter is more focused on the day-to-day kind of inbound, but then also following up with clients. Okay, because we're gonna have that engagement on the inbound side, but then be able to call that client and say, hey, remember we spoke not long ago. So there's going to be more of a personal approach rather than some person you've never spoken to reaching out to you.
So if I want to sign up or just have a conversation with you, Charlie, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, well, we just built. I think it's live. Our landing page with you on there, Tommy. So my contacts info is on there. Charlie at freetogrow.com. Freetogrow.com is our website. You can certainly go on there. It's a great page. Thank you for your video. We showed it to our team. We have a weekly huddle, Tommy, every Thursday, and we put you up on the big screen, and everybody loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah, free to grow. Free
to grow.
-2, the number 2 -grow, right?
That's it. Yep. Go on there. You call the number. It'll likely go to me or Nathan, and the number certainly that's on our landing page will go directly to me. So, we have a special on there. We cut the onboarding fees in half as a kind of honor for you in this partnership, and hopefully it'll let some owner operator pick up the phone and give us a call. We'd love to help you.
I got a few more questions. I just need to brag because one of my guys, Dylan's on here, said, train us to give the best customer service out there, creating nothing but raving fans. I love that book, Raving Fans. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for the shout out, brother. What are 3 books? I'm a big book reader. What are the 3 books? And here's the deal. I've been hearing Traction a lot. Obviously, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's the E-Myth. There's Ultimate Sales Machine. But you got a few books, maybe they don't even need to be necessarily about business.
Let's see. I've certainly read the E-Myth. I'm reading a great book right now called The Comfort Crisis, kind of reinforcing what I think is going on right now with people being very comfortable, not getting outside their, they're constantly in that sweet spot, and that's a problem. And I think that, the lessons that I'm reading, a lot of which I learned in the military, where I thought it was interesting. The author of this book suggests every quarter you go do something physical that he's got 2 rules. It's got to be really hard and you can't die. Okay. Now that could be extreme, but that what got me thinking, man, it's kind of nice to get yourself outside of that comfort zone every quarter. Nothing to do with business. I read a great book called 2034 about, next future global conflicts. I recently reread a book called Back in the Fight. An old squad leader of mine who lost his leg in Iraq wrote it. I'm actually in there in the first chapter. In one sentence I'm in there, so don't. But those are the 3 I've read most recent.
Cool.
Certainly the E-Myth is a big one. Business Adventures is great. There's a lot out there. So, and Home Service Millionaire, I read it 6 months ago.
Oh,
still
good.
On my list.
One. Yeah. I'm going to be working on a 2.0, and it talks a lot more about acquisitions, organic growth, greenfield growth. I've got some tips out there of, you don't find a lot of companies that could grow as fast as we're growing greenfield. Acquisitions make a lot of sense, but those are not as easy too, because you're walking into a different culture, and you got to have a plan to get that stuff. This awesome guy, I recommend this book to everybody. His name is Adam Coffey, and he wrote this book called The Private Equity Playbook.
Yep.
Really, really good book. So I was on a plane reading the book, and I got to get a hold of this guy. So I took a picture of me reading it and hit him up on LinkedIn, and he got back to me because I actually tried, because they brought him on, the private equity, to, I think they're going for $800 million in commercial HVAC, and he's located in California, and he's coming out with a second book, so he's going to be back on the podcast. And this book's all about the list of what you need to do when you buy a company, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of HR stuff. But we talked about a lot of stuff here. Obviously, I love what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. I think this podcast is going to mean a lot to a lot of people, because a lot of times you just, as a business owner, sometimes we feel alone out there. We're not alone, but we feel alone because, people ask me what keeps me up at night, and there's nothing that keeps me up at night. I got to tell you, I got a great team and great procedures. But a lot of times the stuff that you're working on can answer what's keeping people up at night. So I love what you're doing. But we might have not talked about something. Maybe you got a piece of advice, maybe just a call to action for the audience. But I want to leave it to you to close us out.
Yeah, Tommy, look, we couldn't be more pleased to be a partner of you. You've clearly built a culture that's worth replicating. And certainly we can hope to get to that point. So for those listening and, those that will listen to the podcast later, if you're an owner, operator, entrepreneur, just want to talk about that or trying to offload stuff that we do, we'd love to talk with you. We've got a neat model. I think the world's changing as far as being able to have a team that's working in remote with the technology, and you can still have oversight of your business, and the controls and the KPIs are all going to be there. So you certainly don't need to go it alone. We'd love to work with you. So thanks again, Tommy.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, you got to go out there and give Charlie a call. What I would do today is start working on a list of things that you might not appreciate or like to do. And Charlie, I think you're going to grow massively because people are having a really hard time hiring right now. And if you're willing to go ahead and be that person to do all that stuff and onboarding and everything else, I think the business is going to fly. Appreciate you coming on. We'll do it again. And we'll stay on afterwards. I want to catch up on a couple of things.
All right, Tommy. Loved it, man.
Thank you. Love you too, brother.
See you, bud.